Hey guys, Problem1701 here, and today we're doing part 2 of our ranking of the classic series animations. Now, there were 10 of these total. We did 6 through 10 in the first video, and just as a quick recap, from 10 to 6, it was Fury from the Deep, The Invasion, The Ice Warriors, The 10th Planet, and Shada. If you want to know the detailed reasons why I ranked them in the order they did, check out that first video. And we're going to continue on today with 5th place, and we're going to be starting with the Faceless ones. The Faceless ones is pretty good overall. I like it. The story itself, I think, is kind of weak, and I think it would have worked better as a 4-parter, and so that could be part of the reasons why I don't like it as much. But the animation is pretty good. I don't like the animation of the Faceless ones themselves because they still have too much of a face with noticeable eyes. I much like the original production design that we see in existing photos of how they looked, where there really is no distinguishing features. So I wasn't quite keen on how the animation did the Faceless ones in their natural form. Troughton doesn't look quite right. He looks okay. He's passable, but not quite right. The animation is a step back from Macroterror. Still good, but not quite as good as Macroterror. And Troughton's face suffers a little. I think this part of his head looks a little too big compared to his face. Jamie looks weird, too. I don't like the way Jamie's done with the long nose. It doesn't look like Jamie. I think Ben and Polly look good. I think some of the way they move works a lot better than, say, Fury. There's a scene where Polly's running. I think it's pulled off pretty well. The color versions and the black and white versions are both good. Sometimes I want to watch the color version and I'll watch all 6 animated episodes. Sometimes I want to watch the black and white version and I'll watch the surviving 2 episodes with the rest in black and white animation. The animation still... I like the Faceless one because it actually gives us a chance to compare... original, episodes 1 and 3 still exist, to compare those original episodes with the animated versions of those episodes and see how the original episodes are better. And, like, there's one scene at the end of, I think it's episode 3, when the doctor they're trying to freeze him to death, and in the live action, you can tell he's freezing to death. The ice is on his face. When the first time I watched it, I watched the animated version. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I thought maybe they were sucking the oxygen out of the room or something, but they didn't have that frost on his face to really show it. So it was when I watched the live action, I'm like, oh, okay, it's cold. Now I get it. So it's proof to me of why I would rather, in most cases, I would rather have the surviving episodes found. Personally, the animation doesn't quite live up to it. But it's still really good. Moving up to number 4 on the list, which is The Reign of Terror. And this one's placed a lot higher than a lot of people would put it, but I actually enjoy it. The camera angles are jarring, much like the 10th Planet, which I mentioned in part 1. The way they do the camera shots aren't of the time, so they don't quite fit in with the live action episodes. There's way more close-ups and cutting between characters than there are in the original live action episodes. But that's not as jarring to me, especially, I think, since I like the fact that the final episode of Reign of Terror still exists, because I do enjoy when the stories that are partly live action, partly animation, I like to have the final episode still existing. One of the reasons I'm waiting on Will in Space to come out is because part 6 still exists. So going from the first 3 episodes of Reign of Terror, which are in live action, to episode 4 and 5, which are animated, is a bit of a shock because you have to adjust to the camera change, and then you get used to that after watching 2 episodes in a row of it, and by the time I got to episode 6, I had to readjust to the live action, the way the camera angles work, and that also took a second to mentally readjust to. But the animation itself looks really good. I love all of the details. I love the way Planet 55 did their animation. That style of animation I really like. Everybody's got their wrinkles, the lines. You can plainly tell who each character is. I really like that. I kind of wish they'd go back to that look. I forget the name of the style of animation that is. I know it begins with like a TH, but I can't remember what it's actually, Thetamation or something like that. I forget exactly what it's called, but I really like it, and I wouldn't mind seeing that actually come back for some of the animations. But I really like the details in characters, and the way they moved is pretty decent, even if they did reuse some movements noticeably in it. But I enjoy it. Moving up to number 3 on the list is Power of the Dalek Special Edition. Between the two, I do prefer the Special Edition overall. There's a couple things I like better about the original, like when the Doctor first walks into the spaceship and sees the, the cobwebs covered Dalek sitting there. There's that iconic shot of him standing there in the background, looking with them in the foreground. That the live action footage of that still actually survives, and it's a very iconic shot. And I liked it in the animation. In the special edition, they changed that shot from Troughton's point of view when he walks in and he sees the Daleks there, and that doesn't work for me. I miss that iconic shot of him standing in the background with the two Daleks, offline in the foreground. And then when he first gets up from the regeneration, I like the original shot of him seeing Ben and Polly's face as opposed to the TARDIS console better. But for the most part, I prefer the special edition. All the characters tend to have a more fluid movement. They look less like cardboard cutouts. They move a lot more fluid, like there's more frames. Lesterson's death is animated a lot better. I love the fact they switched Troughton's pants over to the gray look because the whatever that pattern style is called looks weird in animated form. But the plain gray looks better, and it makes it more consistent with the other animations. And I really like this one. It suits black and white well. I've never liked the color version of Power. I like the way they do the shading in the backgrounds and the shading on the characters' faces seems to fit black and white perfectly. I really love the scene when it shows the Daleks making other Daleks. That's beautiful. The Daleks look amazing in the animation. The characters look good too, but the Daleks look phenomenal. I'm looking forward to another animated Dalek story. I really want Evil of the Daleks because the Daleks look superb in this. So yeah, Power of the Daleks is number 3. Number 2 is Macroterror. Macroterror is really, really good. They nailed Troughton, which is important to me. The nose is slightly off. His nose is a little more rounded than it needs to be, but other than that, they get his face just right, and his movements are just right. He moves in a way that Troughton would move, which is some of my trouble with some of the other animations. I don't think they're true to how Troughton actually moved around. This one seems to have really gotten Troughton's movements down, his mannerisms, which I like. And this one was done by, I think it was Sun and Moon Studios or Sun and Moon Entertainment. They helped work on this one. I think this is the only one they helped work on. And I'm guessing a lot of the reasons why this animation works is due to them. And I really wish the BBC would hire them again. I don't know if it just costs too much to get them to do it, and they prefer doing it in-house to save money. But none of the animations after Macroterror have been as good as Macroterror. Everybody has a very good fluid movement. They move in a very natural way, the way they turn their head, the way their arms move, the way they run. It seems almost three-dimensional. It's easy for me to forget I'm looking at a two-dimensional object because the movements are done so well. It's so fluid. I really like it. I like the way Jamie looks here. I like the way all the character design looks. I love the liberties that are taken with Macroterror. They didn't stick, to the original production very much because the original production, by all accounts, seems to have not been the best. The Macro looked silly and didn't work right. So the fact they kind of decided to enhance this and improve on it is a good thing for me. I think the Macro looked really good in this story. I like the liberties they've taken with it. The sets look much broader and grander than I'm sure they originally did. So for me, Macroterror is the benchmark post-Power with this animation style, and I really wish they would get the bar back up to Macroterror levels. That's where I want. When Evil comes out and Abominable Snowmen come out, I'd like it right up there, unless they go this new route they're going with Web. For the record, even though it's not on this list, I loved the animation trailer for Web of Fear, that 3D look. It looked really good. I thought Troughton's face they got just right. I thought the way he moved was just right. He moved like Troughton. When he gets up to run at the end, I actually was sitting there going, that's the way Troughton would run. That's perfect. So I'm really looking forward to episode of Web of 3. I'm really looking forward to the episode 3 of Web of Fear, because if they keep that kind of animation style that they had in that trailer, I think it's going to be really good. And number 1 on the list is the Moon Base. I love the Moon Base. It's one of my favorite Cybermen stories, even if it isn't one of my favorite Cybermen designs. I love this animation style, because again, I love that style of animation Planet 55 was doing. And for me, the camera angles work really good here. I think the faces have never looked better on any of them. The body movements work pretty well, not perfect. Some of the guest characters don't look the best, like the guy who runs the Moon Base in the animated episodes. He looks a little not quite like the live action footage, enough to where I notice it. But all of your main characters, like Jamie looks good, Ben looks good, Polly looks good. Patrick Troughton, ooh, my sinuses are bothering me. Patrick Troughton looks fantastic. That's really what sells me on it. Is I like that they nail Troughton. He looks really good. The way his eyebrows are moving, his face is shifting, the details. You can see the creases and lines on his face. He even does that little smile that he's known to do. Like you see that one very famous picture from Power when he's holding the diary and his recorder, and he's, he does that particular smile a few times in episodes 1 and 3. So they really get the main cast down well. The backgrounds look really nice here. The Cybermen look phenomenal in animated form. They look scary. They look imposing. The animators did a really good job of making them look menacing and cold and emotionless. The Cybermen look better in the animations than they do in the live action, especially the shots in space. When you see them running around in space, or well, not running, but walking around in space, the shots in the animation look better realized than the shots in live action because, the live action ones had to do it on that small budget, whereas in animations, you can do so much more now. So the animation looks really, really good here. I'd love to see them maybe return to that look. It lends itself really well to the Cybermen, much like Powers does to the Daleks. And seeing them walk around outside in space in the animation is pretty phenomenal. So yeah, that's my personal 2 favorites. My favorite post-Power one is easily Macroterror, and my favorite pre-Power one is easily the Moonbase. So that's been my top 10 ranking of the Doctor Who animations we've gotten thus far. Looking forward to Web of Fear special edition with episode 3 animated. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Comment down below. I love interacting with the people who watch my videos. Let me know your top 10 list and why you feel the way you do. Click the like button, click the subscribe button, check that bell for notifications. Check out my main channel, Prowl1701, PROWL1701, where I talk about all things Star Wars. And most importantly, stay safe, and thank you for watching.